So there's a story about Art Tatum and Vladimir Horowitz, two of the greatest piano players who ever lived. Vladimir Horowitz was a classical pianist. Art Tatum, very famous American jazz pianist. They were together one day uh, with a piano. Vladimir Horowitz sat down and played piano in front of Art Tatum, and he played an arrangement that Art Tatum had recorded. I can't remember what the tune was, but he played this arrangement that he had learned from, I guess, studying it from sheet music or maybe a transcription from written music. So after he got done playing the arrangement for Art Tatum said, "Oh yeah, that's great, but you could also do this." And so he sat down at the piano and played a completely brand new arrangement that he improvised right on the spot in front of Vladimir Horowitz. And you can just picture his face, and it's like it's that old thing of how do you do that? And I think this really illustrates the difference between jazz musicians and classical musicians. Jazz musicians, they understand, they know about improvisation, they understand how chords move, chord changes, the relationship of one chord to the next. But classical musicians, I think they should learn I think they should learn how to improvise for this reason, so that they understand that no matter what piece they're playing, there's always that relationship there that underlies that piece of music, of movements, of notes, of chords, of sound, how sound moves. Um, and it's actually very basic. You don't have to be a master to understand what chords are, and how they move from chord to chord. Um, Basic things about improvisation. I think it just helps you understand what you're playing of written music, what you're playing in written music, and also it allows you to hear music in a deeper way and maybe appreciate it a bit more in that respect. Um, I heard that classical musicians used to improvise. Chopin was an improviser. Beethoven was also an improviser. Bach was definitely an improviser. Uh, I'm pretty sure Mozart also improvised. But we don't have recordings of these composers improvising. So I think it would be very, very illuminating to hear what these composers sounded like when they improvised, and imagine uh, how that would change and alter our view of classical music and maybe even jazz. So I think improvisation uh, is not limited to just jazz music as people usually commonly think of it. There was what we think of today as classical and jazz was just music at that time. Maybe you could maybe it didn't have the same type of terms or the same type of conception or meaning that we have today. Maybe it was similar, but in some ways different in terms of how we thought about music. Just my take.